Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. But before you breathe normally, I need you to hear this. There is a moment every man secretly hopes for and yet almost never recognizes when it's happening. It's the moment when a woman can't stop thinking about him, and it doesn't feel soft or romantic. It feels like pressure in the air, like something is shifting around you that you can't quite name. You sense her energy pulling in your direction. You feel a strange tension every time you think about her. And deep down, you start wondering if you're imagining everything. You're not. When a woman can't get you out of her mind, there are signs that ripple into your life in ways you don't expect. Subtle, psychological, but powerful. And if you don't know how to read them, you'll miss every single one. Before we dive deeper, make sure you subscribe and like the video, because what you're about to hear are insights most men never get access to. And you don't want to miss what comes next. The truth is, when a woman can't stop thinking about you, her thoughts don't stay contained inside her mind. They spill, they leak, they travel through her behavior, through her absence, through the sudden way she reappears when you finally stop chasing. You may not realize it yet, but you can feel a shift long before she ever says a word. You feel it in the way she pauses before replying, not because she's unsure, but because she suddenly cares too much. You feel it when she pulls back, not because she's losing interest, but because she's trying to protect herself from how deeply she's already fallen. And you feel it in yourself too, because there's a strange phenomenon that happens when someone silently fixates on you. Their emotional focus creates a psychological mirror effect. Her attention triggers your instincts. You start sensing her pull without understanding why. Most men mistake this for confusion, mixed signals, or emotional volatility. But it's none of that. What you're sensing is her emotional mind working over time. When she can't stop thinking about you, it doesn't stay hidden. Something starts happening to you, even if you don't realize it yet. Something subtle, undeniable, and almost magnetic. And once you understand why, everything in your dating life changes. When a woman can't stop thinking about you, the first thing you'll notice, whether you realize it or not, is that your presence starts to feel different in the world. It's subtle at first, almost like a whisper of energy brushing against your consciousness. But it's powerful enough to make you second-guess what you're feeling. You might notice moments when your mind drifts to her, even without a reason, or when a familiar name pops up at the exact moment you weren't expecting it. That's not coincidence. That's the ripple effect of her emotional attention. And here's the secret most men miss. Her fixation actually begins to shape your behavior before you even know she's thinking about you. Suddenly, you become more alert, more attuned, more aware of small details. Her habits, her moods, the way she laughs, even the things she doesn't say. You're already responding to her energy before she ever opens her mouth. It's as if the universe has aligned your focus without permission. At the same time, your own emotions start to amplify. You might feel a sudden surge of confidence, an unexplainable magnetism in the way you carry yourself, even in mundane spaces, or if you're honest with yourself, moments of unease. Because the mind subconsciously knows when it's being watched, even silently. And when a woman fixates on a man, she isn't just thinking, she's imagining interactions, running scenarios, rehearsing conversations in her head. That energy doesn't disappear. It leaks and it touches you without a word, without a touch. You might notice people treating you differently, opportunities aligning strangely, or even just the subtle validation of being seen in ways that matter. That is not random. That is her mind, her focus, her subtle obsession creating an invisible influence on your life. But here's the part most men completely overlook. This isn't about manipulation or control. It's a natural psychological phenomenon. And if you don't recognize it, you'll dismiss it as chance, coincidence, or your imagination. You'll miss the fact that her mind is circling you over and over again, creating consequences for you before you even respond. Your thoughts, your instincts, your decisions, they all start bending slightly toward her energy, whether you want them to or not. And the more you ignore it, the stronger the pull grows. By understanding this, you gain a rare advantage. You can recognize when her attention isn't just fleeting, it's meaningful. And when you finally realize the depth of her focus, you see how it's already shaping your own actions, your own mindset, and your own attraction. That's when things get truly interesting. The second thing that happens to you when a woman can't stop thinking about you is far more intense. It changes the way you feel about yourself without you even noticing. Suddenly, moments that used to feel ordinary start to feel charged, as if the world itself is reacting differently. You might catch yourself smiling at memories you didn't realize you were holding, or feeling a strange pull to act with more care, more presence, more attention to detail. That's not just coincidence. It's the psychological mirror of her fixation. Her mind is replaying scenarios where you exist in her world, and your own subconscious begins to mirror that attention. You feel seen, and when a man feels seen in the exact way a woman is imagining him, everything inside him shifts, confidence rises, instinct sharpens, and even subtle behavior changes. How you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you decide to act. But it's more than confidence. It's a subtle tension, a magnetic pull between what you think you want and what you feel drawn toward. Suddenly, you're making decisions not because you have to, but because something deep inside senses that she's already invested emotionally. You might notice yourself wondering about small details of her life, not because you're obsessed, but because her mind is constantly hovering near yours. You feel her presence, even in absence. And here's the most dangerous part for men who aren't aware. This isn't always comfortable. It can create internal friction, a restlessness that makes you question your own choices, your own priorities, and even your own desires. You feel drawn towards someone who hasn't necessarily said a word, yet her influence is reshaping your inner landscape. At the same time, you begin noticing patterns in the world around you. Maybe a friend brings up her name randomly, or situations arise that put her back into your mind when you least expect it. You think it's coincidence, but it isn't. It's a reflection of the invisible threads connecting her thoughts to yours. And when a woman can't stop thinking about you, she begins to subconsciously guide your environment, orchestrating small, unseen nudges that create opportunities for alignment without ever appearing intentional. This is when most men start to feel it, an almost magnetic, almost haunting awareness that they are no longer fully in control of their own attention. The first shift was subtle. This second shift is undeniable. And it's the point where you begin to understand that her mind isn't just wandering. It's creating a gravitational pull that begins reshaping your life in ways you can't ignore. The third and most profound thing that happens to you when a woman can't stop thinking about you is that it begins to change the way you perceive relationships, intimacy, and even your own worth. You start noticing subtleties in human behavior you never paid attention to before. The micro expressions, the tones of voice, the way someone hesitates before they speak. It's as if her fixation awakens a heightened awareness inside you, forcing you to see people more clearly and yourself more deeply. And this isn't just about attraction, it's about psychology. Her emotional energy creates an invisible mirror, reflecting back at you what matters, what excites you, and what scares you. You feel it in moments of silence, in fleeting glances, and even in conversations that seem casual, but are anything but. At the same time, you feel a strange sense of responsibility. You may not realize it, but knowing someone's mind is constantly circling you carries a weight. You become more conscious of how you act, what you say, even how you present yourself in ways that you didn't before. And this isn't manipulation. It's a natural effect of being seen on a deep emotional level. When her mind is occupied by thoughts of you, it heightens your own emotional intelligence. You instinctively start reading cues you once overlooked. You notice when someone's attention drifts, when their energy shifts, and you understand almost instinctively how to respond, not to manipulate, but to connect authentically. Here's the truth most men never hear. Being in someone's thoughts consistently isn't just flattering, it's transformative. Her fixation alters your emotional landscape in ways that push you to grow, to reflect, and to respond. You feel her attention before she even expresses it. And this creates a psychological tension that teaches you to navigate desire, anticipation, and emotional boundaries like never before. It's as if your subconscious becomes attuned to hers, anticipating her reactions, interpreting her pauses, and reading her silences. And finally, This influence is persistent. It doesn't vanish the moment she's out of sight. It lingers in your thoughts, your choices, your instincts. You may try to dismiss it as coincidence or imagination, but the truth is undeniable. When a woman can't stop thinking about you, her energy reshapes your world, your perceptions, and even the way you show up in every interaction. This is not subtle. It is profound, and it has long-term consequences for every relationship you enter from this point forward. What you need to understand now is that when she can't stop thinking about you, the world around you begins to shift in ways that seem almost invisible, but they shape your reality more than you realize. You start noticing her in memories that weren't supposed to stay, in thoughts that appear at random, in the quiet. Moments when your mind should be focused on something else entirely. And this doesn't happen because you're clingy or confused. It happens because her emotional focus has already intertwined with yours. The human mind is wired to respond to emotional attention even when it's silent. So when she's thinking about you constantly, your subconscious picks up the signal long before logic understands what's happening. You find yourself replaying past conversations, analyzing the meaning behind her expressions, or wondering why a specific moment keeps resurfacing in your thoughts without explanation. At the same time, your motivation begins to shift. Suddenly, you want to become a better version of yourself. Not for her, but because the idea of being seen through her eyes activates a deeper drive. You stand a little taller, think a little clearer, and feel a little more grounded. This is what many men mistake for simply liking someone, but it's far more subtle and more psychological. You're responding to the emotional blueprint she's already created of you in her mind. When she imagines you as confident, capable, or compelling, your mind absorbs that energy without ever hearing a word, and you begin to grow into that imagined version of yourself. But there's another part of this that men rarely understand. When a woman thinks about you constantly, your intuition becomes sharper. You begin to anticipate shifts in her behavior before they happen. You sense when she's pulling back emotionally, not because she's losing interest, but because she's overwhelmed by how strongly she feels. You sense when she wants to reach out, but hesitates. You sense when she wants reassurance, but won't say it. You become emotionally attuned, not out of neediness, but out of connection. And perhaps the most powerful effect is this. Her thoughts create momentum. They push you into moments of clarity, moments of courage, moments where you surprise yourself with how deeply you feel and how strongly you respond. This isn't obsession. It's resonance. It's two emotional frequencies overlapping, altering both of you in quiet but undeniable ways. And when you finally recognize it, everything about your understanding of attraction changes forever. When a woman can't stop thinking about you, the final change that happens to you is the one men rarely talk about. Yet, it's the one that transforms you the most. You begin to understand your own emotional power. Not power in the sense of control, manipulation, or dominance, but the quiet, undeniable power of presence. You start to realize that your energy affects people, that your absence is felt, and that your existence carries weight in someone else's emotional world. For many men, this is the first time they truly see themselves not as someone chasing connection, but as someone who creates it without even trying. And this realization shifts everything. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop over-giving. You stop trying to prove your worth to anyone. Instead, you start recognizing that genuine attraction isn't forced. It's drawn, pulled, and shaped by deeper psychological forces that work underneath the surface. And because of this awareness, your behavior grows calmer, more grounded. You no longer react impulsively when she withdraws for a moment. You no longer panic when she takes time to respond. You no longer assume the worst when she seems distant. Because now you understand something most men never learn. When a woman is deeply thinking about you, she often becomes overwhelmed by her own emotions. Her silence can be intensity. Her hesitation can be fear of losing something meaningful. Her distance can be her way of processing feelings she didn't expect to have. And unlike before, you begin to respond with patience instead of panic, confidence instead of insecurity, clarity instead of confusion. This is emotional maturity shining through you in ways she can sense instantly. But here's the part that truly transforms your future relationships. Once you experience the subtle intensity of being deeply thought about, you start to recognize the difference between real interest and temporary attention. You no longer chase women who show surface level attraction. You no longer fall for mixed signals. You stop giving your time to anyone who isn't emotionally invested. You begin choosing differently because now you understand what genuine connection feels like when it reaches you before a single word is spoken. And maybe the most powerful truth of all is this: her thoughts about you don't just affect your emotions. They awaken something inside you, a deeper sense of self, a stronger intuition, a clearer awareness of what you want and what you deserve. And when you carry that into your next relationship, everything changes.